The Human Experience. Inside the Humanities at Stanford University. humanexperience.stanford.edu.
I find this material compelling, challenging, daunting, aggravating, deeply resonant, I think, across time and particularly now. And I'd say in that regard that I think the Electra Festival explores something of great, great interest and relevance. The question of memory and justice and I guess what one might call proper behavior. We live in a society that wants to forget everything, wants to get on with things, that wants to get us shopping and moving forward. And the problem with that, of course, is that history is forgotten. And when history is forgotten, bad things happen again and again. The Greeks were very, very aware of this problem. They were dealing with archetypes, mythical archetypes, in which they could see their own historical moment repeated or paradigmatically represented. So the Electra Festival is a chance to go way back to the roots of theater, back to the roots of democracy. Theater and democracy grew up at the same time in ancient Athens, and look through that ancient filter at our own issues and problems. In particular, I'm intrigued by the character of Electra, who refuses all sorts of inducements to forget the past and to forget what she and her loved ones have suffered from the past. In particular, classicists love Sophocles' Electra because it is extraordinarily ambiguous about its moral dimensions. That is to say, it's clearly deeply interested in moral questions, but it doesn't offer a very easy moral answer. We don't know how we're meant to take this revenge affected by Electra and her brother Orestes, because Sophocles gets rid of the Furies. In both Aeschylus and Euripides, there's these gods that pursue the matricides, as if there's something in the system, in the blood, in the earth, that says it's wrong to kill your mother. It's wrong to take that kind of blood, no matter what they've done, right? That gets down to the deep, deep, deep human taboo. In Sophocles' play, the Furies are absent. And so people have been split down the middle as classicists. Do we see this as a play in which the audience is meant to bring in the Furies, even though they're not in the play, to know that this is deeply wrong? Or is it an apology? It says, no, that's okay. When human vindictiveness and vengeance reaches a certain stage, it is its own justification. So I think this is one of the reasons classicists are very, very troubled by Sophocles' play, and you tend to get people reading it as a triumph of justice and an absolute vindication of the revenge against the murder of Agamemnon by Clytemnestra, or others who think of it, as I frequently do, something of a sinkhole of a play, a horrible look at the warped nature that historical memory and justice can lead people to.
I just think that Electra is an outsider, and that's the way that sort of contemporary audiences or an audience member just sitting there kind of wanting to relate to the play would be able to relate to it. This person that no one understands, that is trying to maintain her integrity when everyone is just saying, I think you're acting like a crazy person, in this world of just sort of common sense. Sometimes following your morality or your principles or some sort of passion is incredibly difficult. So anyone kind of trying to do that will definitely relate to Electra, poor Electra.
I think that this play has a lot to offer a contemporary audience. I think there's a very interesting dilemma for all of the characters about justice and what justice is. And Clytemnestra has her own version of justice, which is very personal. It's also amplified by the gods and their version of justice. But she finds her own personal justice in killing the man who killed her daughter. And that makes perfect sense to her. And Electra, of course, has a very different version of justice. And we have an interesting discussion about that, actually. So I think that's always a relevant issue. Who decides who lives and dies? Who decides what's just? Who decides what kind of revenge is appropriate? I think also for women, this play is interesting because Clytemnestra lives in a man's world, and I find the character fascinating because she completely dominates her environment until she doesn't, until she is killed. But she takes the bull by the horns and does what she thinks is right, and nobody can touch her for quite some time.
Or perhaps your father, that murdering thug, preferred Menelaus' offspring to mine. Was that not perverse? Was that not brutal? I tell you, that murdered girl would speak for me if she had a voice. The deed is done. I feel no remorse. You find me degenerate. Perfect yourself before you blame others.
At least you can't say I started it this time. Your ugly remarks are unprovoked. But I want to get a few things clear about the dead man and my sister. If you will allow me.
By all means, begin this way more often and we won't need ugly words, will we?
No. You killed my father. You admit it. What could bring more shame? Never mind if it were legal or not. Did you care? Let's talk facts. There was but one reason you killed him. You were seduced by that creature you live with. And I know there is something wrong about me. All wrong. Sometimes I shock myself. But there is a reason. You never let up this one same pressure, this hatred on my life. I am the shape you made me. Filth teaches filth.
Little beast! My words, my deeds, and I draw too much comment from you.
Oh, you said it, not I, for the deeds are your own.
By Artemis, I swear you will pay for this when Aegisthus comes home!
See, you are out of